ቴዲ ለየት ያለ እንግዳይ ነው። ቴዲን ታውቁታላችሁ። ደጋግሞ ማስረዳት ይቻላል ስለ ቴዲ። ቴዲ የአሜሪካ ፖለቲካ የገባው ኦልሞስት እዚህ እንደተወለደ ቁጠሩት። በህፃንነቱ መጥቶ ያደገ ነው። የሚናገረው በእንግሊዝኛ ነው። አማርኛው ይሰማል ብዬ አስባለሁና በአማርኛ ነው የምናገረው። ብዙ ጊዜ በአማርኛ ነግረነው በእንግሊዝኛ የሚመልስ ወንድም ነው። ብዙዎቻችሁ ታውቁታላችሁ። የቴድሮስ ትርፌ በኢትዮጵያ ጉዳይ ላይ ያለውን አስተዋጽኦ የምታውቁት ነው። በአሁኑ ሰዓት በጣም ከፍተኛ የሆነ በአሜሪካ መንግስት ትልቅ አክሰሱ ያለው በሴናተሮች በኮንግረሶች ከኤችአር 2003 ጀምሮ ከፍተኛ የሆነ ስራ የሰራ ስፔሻሊ ኢትዮጵያን በእውነት በውጭ ዓለም በተለይ በአሜሪካ መንግስት በዲሞክራትም በሪፐብሊካንም ኢትዮጵያ የሚገባትን እንድታገኝ ህግ የተከበረባት ሀገር እንድትሆን ታላቅ ስራ እየሰራ ያለ ወንድም ነው። ኦፍ ኮርስ የአማራ ድርጅቶች ሰብሳቢ ነው። በአሁኑ ሰዓት በላቢ ስራ ከፍተኛ የሆነ ልምድ ያለው ሰው ነው። በሰብአዊ መብት ተሟጋቾች ጋር ከፍተኛ ስራ የሰራ ነው። ባልደራስ ለኢትዮጵያ የሚያደርገውን ኢትዮጵያ የሆነ ስራ በጽኑ የሚደግፍ ሰው ነውና ቴድሮስ የሚሰማ ከሆነ ወደ ቪዲዮ እንደገና ብትመጣና ባይህ መልካም ነው። አይታየኝም ስቲል ቴዲም ቢሆን ካሜራን ኦን ያረከዋል መሰለኝም።
I'm on
okay.
My camera's on.
ቴዲ ያው እንግዲህ አማርኛ ትሰማለህ፣ የምትመልሰው በእንግሊዝኛ ነው እርግጠኛ ነኝ። ያው ይሰማል አይደለም?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. ቴዲ እንግዲህ ባልደራስ is almost the only voice right now በአዲስ አበባ ከተማ ውስጥ አንተ ቫልዩ የምትሰጠውን አንድ ሰው አንድ ድምጽ ብሎ የተነሳና ኢትዮጵያ ለኢትዮጵያውያን ሙሉ መብት የምታከብር እንድትሆን የሚታገል ስፔሻሊ አዲስ አበባ ላይ ደግሞ ደብል ስታንዳርድ እንዳይኖር በዘር ተለያይተን እንዳንኖር እየታገለ ያለ ድርጅት ነው። እሱን ድርጅት ለመርዳት ነው ዛሬ የተሰባሰብነውና እንዴት ትገልጸዋል? how important is ባልደራስ ለኢትዮጵያም ለአዲስ አበባ?
Abebe, thank you for the introduction. And also, first, I want to thank the Balderas support group here in the United States for inviting me. I hope you all can understand and sympathize. My remarks will be in English. To answer your question, Gasha, it's important for people in Addis Ababa to have a voice. And the people in Addis Ababa have lacked a voice for a very long time since the TPLF EPRDF coalition came into power. So the creation of the establishment of Balderas by Iskandar Nega was very critical, and I think it was really a game changer, right? Well, having a political party just focus on the most important city in Ethiopia, the most important political city in Ethiopia, and I think the people in power and others saw that as a threat. Where you had Iskandar and Balderas focus on making sure that the people in Addis Ababa have an opportunity to choose their own political representations, to represent them within the city and in all aspects, economically, politically, making sure that the cultural and rights and the social rights of everyone in Addis Ababa was represented and preserved. And I think when Balderas started that movement, you saw other political parties jumping on to try to claim some of those ideas. And I'm glad, and I know it's a challenge for Balderas, right? Having the political leadership, not just Iskandar, but the other key leaders also being arrested, to continue to move forward and to try to be the voice of all people of all Ethiopians in Addis Ababa. I know it's a challenge, but I think it's something that we should all admire, that with all the key leaders being in prison, that the remaining Balderas leadership continues to move forward and participate in this upcoming election. It shows that the leadership that are in jail established a very strong network, a strong structure, political structure. And it's something that not just in the country, but also outside of the country. And the political structure here and or the support group here in the U.S. and Europe continues to support that political structure in Addis Ababa. And I think it was also important when you see the Baldras forming the coalition or partnership with Abin or Nama, in having that coalition. I think it's important. Basically, coordinating resources and also messaging is also key there. So I think it's very important, and I hope that it continues. And it's and I hope that that Iskandar Nega and Sintayo and everyone else are released from jail soon, because it is, I think many of us do truly believe that the arrest of these leaders, they didn't commit a crime. Their crime was just being involved in politics and trying to be a voice for the people in Addis Ababa. I know that was a long-winded answer and response, but that's really the main thing. One thing I do want to add is that, we have been talking about this in our advocacy efforts, the role of Baldras and Iskandar Nega in Ethiopian politics, in educating members of Congress, other policy makers. And one of the things that we do also is, when there are human rights atrocities being committed in Addis Ababa, that we do document these, and share them with congressional offices, State Department officials, as well as human rights organizations. A few weeks ago, there was the homes of many Addis Ababans was demolished, and this isn't something that usually captures news, but we have a staff in Ethiopia that produces human rights violations incident reports. This was one of the things that was documented and shared with key organizations, so that people see that there is a deliberate attempt by other political actors to change the demographics of Addis Ababa and change the politics of Addis Ababa. So as an organization, we are paying attention very closely to what happens in Addis Ababa. As I said earlier, it is the most important political city for Ethiopians, and it's something that we don't turn our eyes from. Abeba, if you're still there, I'm going to turn it over back to you. I think we've lost Abeba. Amara.
Teddy, are you there? Hello? Teddy, your mic is mute.
Okay.
Yes, are you there?
Yes, I'm sorry, Amara. I had muted my mic. I apologize. I'm here.
Yes, I think, hold on one second. I think Abbe's mic system failed. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, I think we can continue on. It's okay, right? Until he joins us.
Yeah, sure. Thank you again from my side. Thank you very much for joining. Short notice. እና ያው እንግዲህ የምናደርገው የገንዘብ I think I should continue in English, right?
No, it's okay. በአማርኛ አድርገው አማርኛ ሰማለሁ።
አውቃለሁ, we can just to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So ያው it's been very hard for Balderas to get any substantial kind of fundraising in Ethiopia for the last year. Consequently, because of the permit was not issued until almost a month and a half ago. The certificate for being permanent certificate for being a party. So government has basically suffocated us. We could not raise funds from members, cannot do fundraising, cannot open bank account, cannot even take donations. So now we are on last minute run to get as much money as you can, and you being involved somehow in politics know that no money means the likelihood of winning anything is nothing in election anywhere in the world practically nowadays. ስለዚህ ያው እኛ ባህል ከዚህ ብቻ ነው ፋንድ የሚመጣው። አንድ ፕሮግራም ነው ያደረጉት አዲስ አበባ አስታሁን fundraising dinner. So that's where we are.
I believe me, I understand it, Amara. It's not easy. Money without politics is it's crippling, right? And so you need a lot of money to, especially when you're starting from scratch. So this is a new political party, and so we're trying to reach the Addis Ababa constituency. It's not easy. So I hope that people will contribute here and back in Ethiopia, so that Addis Ababa will have an opportunity to participate in its fullest. Balderas will be able to participate in the in all the I guess in all the precincts in Addis Ababa, and I think there will be a support, not just from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, but also from here. And I think not just in Addis Ababa, but I think throughout a good part of Ethiopia. So Addis Ababa is unique in that it's a melting pot, right, of all Ethiopians. And so from all the corners of Ethiopia who live there. And I think they have a vested interest in to make sure that their issues is represented. And I think there are Ethiopians who live outside of Addis Ababa who do support the views or perspective that's held by Balderas. And I think they'll step up and support the organization.
Yeah, great. Abbe is back, so I'll leave the stage for him. Thank you. Yeah. Abbe Anteno.
በጣም ይቅርታ ያው ቅድምም ተናግሬ ያለው ባትሪ እጥረት ነበራት። አሁንም 4% ነው ያለው ቻርጅ እያደረገ ነውና አድማጮችን አሁን በድጋሚ ይቅርታ ጠይቃለሁ። ከመጀመሪያም ከስቱዲዮ ውጭ መሆኔን ደጋግሜ ገልጫለሁና በዛ ምክንያት ነው። ቴዲ ትሰማኛለህ አለ?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry Teddy. I was disconnected. Battery ችግር ነበርብኝና are you comfortable asking you in Amharic?
No, a little bit. Really more comfortable speaking in English. So
okay.
Yeah. So, but okay,
I think I understand. Everybody is just, I guess, most of our audience will understand English. I'm assuming. You can, this is a big subject actually. If you remember back then, when Iskandar was in prison, not now, before, when TPLF was in power, how you think his relationship with the European government, the American government, how instrumental he was while he was in prison? If you remember, we were just fighting behalf of him. He was a great voice. And can you compare it now that we're not using him that much because we're trying to give a chance to Prime Minister Abiy and his government? We're not just, going all out war against Abiy. We're holding all the leverage that we can get by his name recognition, from Iskandar's name recognition. So we're trying to be reasonable. You are one of the person trying to do the loving work, the diplomacy work, to be smooth and to be fair to Ethiopia. With all this, can you explain to them how we are very, very just not aggressive, as I can say, towards to PM Abiy, but he's not really thinking that we are doing that. He's pushing too much against Iskandar. He's imprisoning him without any evidence, 7 months. So how do you see it for you to fight for this kind of freedom, at the same time to give a chance to Abiy? So how do you balance all this?
I mean, for the way I view this is, to me, it's really not that complicated, at least from my view. You know, from what we've seen, what we know, Iskandar is seen as a threat to the people in power, to the political party in power, because he started advocating for Addis Ababa, which is the most important political city in Ethiopia. And so for anyone vying to be to sit in Menelek's palace, you know, that is going to be seen as a threat. So, so it was, you know, and we know that Iskandar is a risky person. He's a fearful person. He's not afraid. I met Iskandar when he was here, when he first came after he was released from prison, and really admired a lot about Iskandar. One, I admired his, you know, his deep knowledge of history. He's a true Ethiopianist. He believes in the concept of Ethiopianness. He is someone that is grounded in his faith, a very strong, you know, Christian person, but without any discrimination for anyone. So I had an opportunity to spend a lot of time with him. And then when he came, he had wanted to meet with key government officials here, because he knew that Washington, D.C. was a very important city because it is the center of world politics. So we had arranged meetings for Iskandar with a lot of stakeholders here, with like Congressman Chris Smith, you know, Senator Rubio. That was our arrangement. There's several key members of Congress. You know, difficult to list them all, including Senator Cardin, as well as State Department officials, and also the human rights organizations. There was a meeting between all the human rights organizations, Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, and others. And I participated in that meeting with him. Actually, he and I were invited to an event in Manhattan, New York, that was sponsored by Amnesty International. Both of us were speakers at that event. So I had an opportunity to really spend a lot of time with Iskandar, really admired him. So someone like this can be seen as a threat to you know, to people in power. And so when he took on this role of being the voice for Addis Ababans, right? It was something new. It was very focused. And so why, you know, Ethiopians in the diaspora have not, you know, advocated to the numbers that we would like to that we would like to see. You know, that's an interesting mystery to me. I don't think it has really anything to do so much like being against Prime Minister Abiy. I think it's just the way that it was done, to be honest with you, Abdullah. Iskandar is a key figure. He's well known. And so, you know, he's not a mystery to human rights organizations. He's not a mystery to key congressional offices. It's about doing targeted advocacy. It's about, you know, going and reaching out and speaking to members of Congress. And we have done that, actually, spoken to members of Congress about the situation of Iskandar Nega. And many are concerned, to be honest with you, to be frank with you. They are extremely concerned for his health, and that the fact that he's absent deliberately from Ethiopian politics, because they believe that if he was part of the Ethiopian political discourse, it would add value. And so I do not think that, you know, people are not paying attention, that you know, policymakers are not paying attention. They are paying attention to the situation. In fact, last week we were asked by a key government official concerned that they had heard that Iskandar was moved to a cell next to TPLF officials. They asked us to look into this and if it was true, because they thought that this may be deliberately done to psychologically damage him. So it was something that we had looked into and had to respond to that request, because this was a very important member of Congress. So But we need to continue to advocate for him and all these individuals that are really, political prisoners. They're not criminals, right? So we need to continue to advocate for them because their voice is important. And we need to make sure that the, Ethiopians, as they vote in the in any election, that all the political voices are there so that they have an option. So we need all the different voices to be heard and all the different concerns to be heard if we want real democracy. And real democracy to be is something that's negotiated, right?
Yeah.
You don't get everything that you want. It's something that, here in America, if you see it, any bill that's passed, it's never perfect because there's a negotiation between two different political parties. Even within those political parties, there are different perspectives as well, right? Within the Democratic Party, they have different perspectives. You have different groups. And then within the Republican Party as well. So, and really, that's the thing that I think most of us aspire to head into. And where you're also to a point, hopefully one day, where your ethnicity does not determine the politics, right? And so, and your ethnicity does not make you vulnerable to attacks, which is what we are witnessing in Ethiopia. Just today, we heard of the news in Ataye, where Oromo Liberation Army fighters just indiscriminately killing innocent Amaras, where at least 25 are killed. And right now, the preliminary numbers is that 10,000 have been displaced. So, we can't have a country where, armed groups can negotiate themselves or get attention by killing innocent people and holding innocent people vulnerable. If you see in Ethiopia, the fight oftentimes is not between armed groups. It's armed groups attacking vulnerable people that do not have any protection. And we need to get away from that and not allow them to hold innocent people hostage.
Yeah, I have a few minutes left. And if you remember, when he came here in America, Iskander told us the genocide is coming in a big number. Even though it was happening before even he says that, he was giving a clear warning. The Ethiopian government, they should take that seriously and try to prevent not to happen. By now, we could save a lot of people. Now, look, after he spoke, that he's telling us the genocide is coming in a big way. He didn't lie. It's happening. You saw it. And that's number one. Number two, he told us the group called Kiro, some of them are good citizens. They fought for the freedom. He appreciates them. But some of them are doing illegal things. And then the government also taking those illegal Kero groups to be armed, like Liu Haile and the police and others. And he spoke all about that. That's why we have a problem in Oromia region now. We couldn't have a rule of law because so-called Liu Haile, they have like 39 rounds. They are, trained, but none of them couldn't stop the civilians being killed in there. So Iskander spoke all this. Why the Ethiopian government didn't take it seriously, number one. Number two, how are you going to explain this to the international community, Teddy?
You're right. Iskander did voice these concerns. He talked about it often. And there are many Ethiopians who agreed with him and tried to bring this awareness. Part of the reason why the Ethiopian government didn't take the necessary measures early on, part of it, one is really many of the people that we have in office, unfortunately, in our leaders in the Ethiopian government, they're incompetent. Let's be honest. They're not there because they are capable, because they are worthy, because they meet the requirements. They're worthy because of connections, of a network, because they serve the goal or the want of the people in power, of the political parties that are in power. If they were competent, if they cared about people, if they sincerely cared about the country, the stability of the country, you would not see these armed groups like Oromo Liberation Army or Gumuz militias been able to easily attack and kill people. And let's not forget, within last month, that the Gumuz government, regional government, the Prosperity Party of the Gumuz government admitted that senior government officials and security personnel were supporting the Gumuz militias. They were complicit. They admitted that. And it's the same thing in the so-called Oromia region, that there are government officials, security personnel that are allowing this to happen. These attacks occur either right before the security comes to an area or right after they leave. So they're sharing information with Oromo Liberation Army fighters. So this is not happening, by accident. There's coordination here, and so and part of the reason is that we only have one political party in Ethiopia. If we had, opposition political parties, if we had, Baldras in there, if we had Abin, if we had other political parties in there, then there would be checks and balances. There's no checks and balances in Ethiopia. When we talk about the, political parties, we don't have really institutions in Ethiopia. We have a one-man show. Name me a strong institution in Ethiopia. So, and because of this, you're seeing, regional government leaders, especially in the so-called Oromia region, act with impunity. And the impact and the result of that is just poor innocent people who have no representation, being targeted simply because of their ethnicity, and hundreds of thousands have been displaced as a result, and thousands have died unnecessarily. So opposition political parties. So I think at the end of the day is, I hope that this election is free and fair, and that there are going to be new leadership in there, in Parliament, not just in federal Parliament, but even at the regional Parliament. And we push for really for an end to this ethnic-based system that allows for the vulnerability of the innocent people, especially in these regions like Oromia and Benshangul Gumuz region, where these so-called natives are the ones that have political power, and you have these non-natives or settlers who have no political representation, and they're easy targets.
Teddy, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your contribution. So thank you. በጣም አመሰግናለሁ። ክቡራትና ክቡራን ተመልካቾቻችን ቴዲ በጣም አመሰግናለሁ።
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
ምናልባት አንዳንድ አድማጮቼ ምናልባት የእንግሊዝኛ ውይይታችን ግልጽ ያልሆነላችሁ ካላችሁ እንደው ትንሽ አጠር ያለች ገለጻ ለማድረግ ያክል ቴዲ እንደምታውቁት በውጭ ሀገር የተደራጁ የአማራ ድርጅቶች ማህበር የማህበራቱ ስብስብ ሰብሳቢ ነው። ቴዲ ይሄንን የአማራ ድርጅት ሰብሳቢ ሆኖ መስራት ከጀመረ ቆየት ያለ ጊዜ ነው። HR 2003 ታስታውሱ እንደሆነ በህዋት ላይ ማዕቀብ እንዲጣል በሚደረግ ጊዜ በጣም ብዙ ኮሊሽን ነበረ። ያው የኦሮሞ ታጋዮችም ዛሬ ወደ ስልጣን የወጡትም የሚደግፉት ማለት ነው እነ ሌንጮ ለታን ሌሎች የመሳሰሉት ባሉበት የኦሮሞም የዚህ አይነት አክቲቪስቶች አንድ ላይ ተሆኖ ይሰራ ነበርና በዛ ጊዜ የቻፕ 2003 እንዲያልፍ አስተዋጽኦ ካደረጉ በርካታ ኢትዮጵያ መካከል አንዱ ቴዲ ነው። በዚህ በዲፕሎማሲ ስራ ላይ ያነሳሁለት ጥያቄ እስክንድር ነግሮን ነበር። በመጀመሪያ ደረጃ ጄኖሳይድ በኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ እንደሚፈጸም ይሄ ጉዳይ በአስቸኳይ እንዲቆም አሁንም እየተፈጸመ እንደሆነ ተናግሮ ነበር። እሱ ከተናገረበት ጊዜ ጀምሮ መንግስት ቢጠነቀቅ እንኳን ብዙ ሰው ሊተርፍ እንደሚችል ይሄንን እንዴት አድርገን ለኢንተርናሽናል ኮሚቴ ማስረዳት እንችላለን? አንድ ሁለተኛ እስክንድር በጣም ታዋቂ ሰው ነው። በህዋት ጊዜ እስር ቤት በነበረ ጊዜ ለኤችአር 2003 ስናመለክት የእስክንድር ስም በጣም ጠቅሟል። የእስክንድር ኮኔክሽን በጣም ጠቅሟል። እስክንድር ታዋቂ ሰው በመኖሩ በጣም ብዙ ሽልማቶችን ያገኝ ነበርና እንደ ቴዲ የመሳሰሉ ሰዎች ምስክር እያደረጉ ያቀርቡ የነበሩት የሱን መታሰር የሱን ስራዎች ነበረ። ዛሬም እስር ቤት ነው ያለው ይሄ ሰው። ያንን እያወጣን ልንታገልና ለዓለም ይሄንን መንግስት ልናጋልጥ ምንችልበት ብዙ ነገር አለ። ግን መንግስት ደግሞ እድል ያገኝ በማለት ወንድማችንና ሌሎችም እስር ቤት ይያሉ የሁሉ ግድያ ያለ ለኢንተርናሽናል ኮሚኒቲው ምናቀርበው አቤቱታ ግን እንደ ህዋት አገር አጥፊ ሳይሆን በጣም የተቻቻለ ነገር ለመስራት ነው የምንሞክረውና ሁለቱን እንዴት ኮምፔር ያደረጋችሁ ሁለቱን ባላንስ ያደረጋችሁ ለመሄድ ምን ያህል አስቸግሯቸዋል የሚል ጥያቄ ነበር ያነሳውለት። ሌላውም ያው በዛ ዙሪያ ላይ እውነት መሆኑንና ያንን ባላንስ ያደረጉ እየሰሩ መሆኑን እንዲያው መንግስት የበለጠ ይሄን ጉዳይ ትኩረት ሊሰጠው ይገባ ነበር እንጂ